When the bell rings, it's a very surreal feeling. It feels like a lifetime, but it's probably only 10 seconds. It's like everything just dials in. It's like I'm in a fishbowl. There's no crowd, there is no noise other than my opponent in front of me. It's a moment of anything can happen, and that's probably part of why I like to fight. Push myself, my body and my mind to a place that many won't go.
Fighting out of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, Rowdy Bec Rawlings!
I'm Bec Rawlings, and this... I don't know what else to say. I'm Bec Rawlings, and this is Fight to Live. I'm a professional fighter, I'm a mother of 2, and an all-over badass.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the laboratory trying to get them to pay attention to me. I gotta keep grinding, gotta keep going. Pace never slowing. Running with the homies, how bad do you wanna walk with a big smile on my face? Cause my vision and my fate is still on track with the race. Listen, all my opposition really my competitors. I ain't sweating them, they ain't on my level yet.
The first time I ever met Bec Rawlings was at Alliance Training Center. She wanted to bang, and there was no backing down at all.
No one said that it was easy. I gotta keep this money going through the 4 seasons. Through 12, keep it. Ripping my team.
I just wanted to be around her and get to know her more. And she had crazy hair and, you know, crazy tattoos.
My first memory of Bec, my honest opinion, was what bad tattoos.
She just really embodies her nickname, which is Rowdy.
I agreed to take on Bec partly because I'm not real smart, all jokes aside.
She was a bit of a rat bag.
As a little kid, she was just feral, getting into stuff, getting filthy, and
She wouldn't accept discipline. She was in trouble at school.
Our first ever AFC female fight. Round of applause for Bec Rawlings.
I looked really good up until the point I got kicked in the head. I went down to the canvas and I think I was out for about a minute. No one would ever outwork us. If we lacked in skill, we definitely didn't lack in heart, strength, speed, cardio. We'd just grind and grind and grind and work our asses into the ground, and it always showed in our fights.
So Bec's call up to Invicta was quite a surprise.
I'm the underdog, and I like being the underdog. It's fun. I like proving people wrong. I don't know, I could pull a submission out or I could knock her out. I'll get my hand raised one way or another.
When she went to do mixed martial arts, that was bad enough. And then when you think it can't get any worse, she does the bare-knuckle. And I just thought, oh my goodness.
Fighters look intent on a ferocious start.
Suffering with left eye damage.
This sport's made for me. I love to box, and I think the bare-knuckle aspect just fits me. The fight before the fight is hard, so anyone that steps into that ring has already got my respect. The first day was the day I fell pregnant with Anson. He started by shoving me into a wall. How could he do that when I've got his son inside me?
There were stories from outsiders.
When I first saw it, I assumed it was just done in training. I guess that's how it was hidden for so long, because you're expected to have bruising, you're expected to have marks.
Not knowing that it was going on made you question exactly what it was you were doing and why couldn't you see it happening.
I really got to know the Bec Rawlings and some of the things that she's been through, facing domestic violence, and how she dealt with it and how she deals with it today.
It's a video! She is a beautiful person inside and out, and she has an incredibly powerful story. Her vulnerability gives people courage and permission to really stand up for themselves.
I was raised by a mom and my grandmother, so I can see the strength in women already, and she reminds me so much of the strongest women I know, my mom and my grandma, in so many ways.
She is a warrior, and she has been a warrior much longer than any of us have ever seen in the cage. She's seen it all and lived it all, and still has a smile on her face. It's hardened her, but it's also softened her. She's a hell of a fighter, a hell of a person, a hell of a mother. I love that girl. I love that girl.
It's not a time to, I hate the saying of what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed doors. It's such an outdated thing to say. And I think it's time for people to actually speak up and intervene and raise our kids to not only not be okay with treating people like that, but also not tolerate it. Where's your drink bottles? Can you grab it, please, mate, and fill it up? They've had breakfast and they're getting ready, and I'm just making their lunches. We'll drop them off at school. We're pretty normal, to be honest. I guess we don't put a suit on and go to an office. We put our gym gear on and go punch people in the face. Zach just started high school. He's the calm one of the two. Ensign's kind of like the quirky little crazy one. They're both into jiu-jitsu now. Ensign loves boxing as well. He gets to burn a lot of energy doing that, which is important because he's got a lot of energy. The message I give my kids is if you see someone getting bullied, you stick up for them. Doesn't matter if they're your friend. It doesn't matter if you don't know them. You say something and you intervene. And I feel like adults need to start doing that too.
It's funny when your children are born because they're all beautiful in their own way. Bec was different because she had the blonde hair and the blue eyes and the others didn't.
There's a classic photo of Rebecca riding a yellow trike on our driveway, and we'd set up like a jump for my brother and I and our BMXs, but Rebecca was probably 2 and decided she was going over the jump. And I don't know if it was mum or dad with the camera taking photos just as she's hit it, and then as she falls off it, goes sideways and lands on her head.
She was a cheeky little thing. She liked to be boyish and, wouldn't have her hair done and wore funny clothes, and you just sort of looked at her and thought, she's going to be trouble.
As a kid, I think growing up, I was a really angry kid. It was like me against the world. And I look back on it and I was like, I self-sabotaged myself a lot. I made it a lot harder than what it should have been. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't find, my space, my place, my thing. Definitely didn't belong in school. Definitely didn't do well to taking orders. And I feel like that's where I got myself in a lot of trouble.
As a teenager, she was a handful. As a teenager, she was rebellious and stubborn. She just sort of started to make a different friendship group, which probably wasn't a good friendship group.
I feel like when I describe myself as a youth, it would be like a hooligan.
Where I was working as a police officer and she was getting arrested. She wasn't much fun for either of us.
If you could imagine, a 13, 14-year-old me with 2 middle fingers up in the air saying fuck you to everyone and everything, that was it.
I don't like you, but I still love you. And that's definitely Rebecca. You could quite easily have given her away between the age of 14 and 18.
There was a description read out for an assault or a fight, and the description was her, dead set her, and I was probably the only one in the room that realised that and had to say, I know who that is.
I'm pretty sure I was 15, 16. I got into a fight with a girl and I hit her. You know, I have a really bad temper. I lost my shit. I didn't really sink in what I'd done until the cops came knocking on my door and brought me in for questioning, and you know, my parents were there and they're like, what did you do?
No, I wouldn't have pictured the feral toddler that used to follow us around would turn into the teenager that was getting booted out of school and running away from home and then escalating to getting arrested and that sort of thing. But I don't really know how things happen like that. I'm not sure. Bec probably wouldn't remember Mum and Dad living together and us as a family like that, I wouldn't imagine, because she was quite young when they separated.
It's hard to parent from a distance, and probably the discipline that she would have had from her father wasn't there as much as what it would have been if we'd still been together.
Back then I was just an angry kid and I just took it out on anyone I could and lost my shit. And I kind of spiraled out of control from there. You know, I had a few more instances where I got in trouble at school for fighting, got kicked out of school for fighting, and just kind of went down that path with hanging out with the wrong kids and doing the wrong things. Just being a little hood rat, I guess, you know, just causing trouble, just doing shit that you shouldn't be doing as a 16-year-old kid. It was another fuck you to my family, to my sister especially, who was a police officer at the time. And that was just my way, I guess, of rebelling and entertaining myself.
If she had kept going down the line she was going, she would have ended up in jail.
It was a mother's worst nightmare.
I didn't love myself and I didn't feel loved. And I think that was probably the biggest issue deep down inside, was I didn't truly love myself.
She lost a baby at 20 weeks. It was quite advanced, and they had to surgically remove the baby, and the staff weren't particularly nice to her. She had tattoos, you know. People in Launceston didn't have tattoos much, and they weren't nice to her. I actually made a formal complaint and we got a written apology, but I think she just wanted to have a baby. She wanted to have somebody that she could love and protect, and that was just part of her. She wanted to be a mother.
I think my turning point was when I fell pregnant with my eldest son, Zake. I was 19 when I gave birth to him. I had a few missed pregnancies before that, so that was pretty rough. And so I felt like Zake was like my miracle, you know, and I had this little human that relied on me. So I had to change my way and be a better person and a better human and a role model for my son. And I didn't want him to go down the same path as me.
That's when she started kickboxing. So I guess sport sort of brought her back on the straight and narrow again and gave her a bit of confidence and showed her there was more to life than what was occurring.
I signed up to a cardio kickboxing gym, and as I was training there with my friend, I saw these people training MMA, and I fell in love instantly.
It was definitely an outlet for me. It was a place to stay on track. It was a place to get fitter physically and mentally. At that time, I was just another body on the mat. I was just there, I showed up, you know, I was nothing special. I didn't stand out, you know, from the bunch. I was just in there to train and have fun and get stuck in. And that's where I met Dan Hyatt. He was initially just my training partner. We were both training under the same coach. He was a professional fighter at the time, and I was just finding the sport. My coach went interstate for a trip, so Dan took over the coaching role. And that's where we became closer and began a relationship. It was fresh, exciting. He was very caring and loving. I guess he kind of had that bad boy vibe about him that I thought was like a fighter thing. You know, I thought that's what fighters were like, you know, big and tough and that tough exterior, but I'd never met a fighter before, so I didn't know what to expect, I guess. The biggest thing you can take from fighting is there's no honour fighting on the street. Fighting in a controlled environment in the gym and then eventually competing on the world stage was my outlet.
MMA fighting, when I first saw it, I just thought, oh, why would people want to do that?
I had no idea you could even fight at that point professionally and get paid and actually make a sport of it. And as I got better at it, my coach came to me and asked if I'd like to have a fight. And I said, well, if you think I'm ready to fight and I can do this, then I'm going to do it.
When she wanted to actually compete, I just thought, my goodness, you're such a beautiful girl. Why would you want to get your face punched in?
A lot of people think, you know, fighting's just this barbaric sport, but it actually teaches you discipline. It teaches you respect and humility, and that's what I really needed at that point in time. And it definitely changed my life.
What I'm about to show you is pretty damn exciting. It's Bec Rowdy Hyatt, 5'5", her MMA debut in the pink, and Rhiannon the Tornado Thompson, 1-0. She is 5'7", going into this fight again 1-0. Her second fight, here's the video.
You're going into this fight, you're not knowing what you're walking into. It was chaos. I went out there and I fought as hard as I could, and I enjoyed the fight. I looked really good up until the point I got kicked in the head. But that's MMA, you know, these things can happen. I made one little error and she capitalised on that. And I went down to the canvas and I think I was out for about a minute. That's career ending for someone on their debut, you know. There's a big shock to your system to get kicked in the face and knocked unconscious. So, but it never crossed my mind. I never thought, oh, I'm going to quit. That was horrible. I was just, let's get back in the gym and let's make sure it never happens again.
It was after a few months with Dan that things started getting weird.
It was everything being fine and then all of a sudden him not talking to me, just full ghosting me. And then he would appear back on the scene with no explanation. And that cycle just kept going. And it made me start questioning, what did I do? Did I say something? And I started questioning myself and my actions and my words. And it kept me, you know, trying to, I guess, fight for his acceptance and love. And now looking back at it, I see what he was doing. He was making me vulnerable. He was making me question myself and my sanity and look at myself like I was the problem. Dan started to take control bit by bit. The way he perceived it was that he was trying to help with my career. He was trying to help with my training and my nutrition to become more recognised on social media and to build my career. And the way he would word it and twist the whole situation was that he was trying to help me. He was doing it out of the kindness of his heart.
The fact that I didn't really like him didn't mean that they weren't happy at that point in time. He was certainly pushing her career and she wanted it to be pushed. So yeah, everything looked hunky-dory.
He intervened with all my friendships. He said I had to choose between him and my friends. It was really hard to give in to that demand. He would say something about Zake and Zake's father, and I would get upset. Then he would spin it around like I caused that because I got upset. And then I'm making him hurt me. The relationship became physical the day I found out I was pregnant with Ensign. He started by shoving me into a wall. How could he do that when I've got his son inside me? Every time it would get to the physical point, he would say, "Why do you make me do this? Why are you making me do this?" He would say it over and over until I believed that, I was causing these issues because I was fighting back. He was always very, very sweet after the fight would end, after the physical stuff would end. He was always very apologetic. He was always very emotional. He would plead with me. He would even cry that he was sorry and that I make him do these things and he wished I wouldn't make him do it. 7, 8 months, a little bit longer before we got married. And I honestly got married because I thought it was going to fix all of our problems. Everything in my head was this was going to make it better. He was going to stop abusing me. He was going to finally love me because I'm making this commitment to him and proving to him how much I loved him.
At the time of the wedding, none of us had any idea what Dan was really like. He was strange.
I suppose the weddings are always all about the bride, so didn't really know much, have much to do with him, really. He was just quiet.
He was a bit of an oddball. He didn't really talk to us much, but you just accepted him for what he was, as you do. Bec loved him. That was important to us. To all accounts, they looked like a loving couple.
And then, not long after the wedding, they moved to Queensland.
I felt like it was going to fix us. I thought it was going to be that magic pill that our relationship needed. And part of that pill was, getting married to him and moving to Brisbane. To train at a better gym, to further his career, to get away from the Tassie life, to get away from Zake's father and all my friends down there that were his reminder of what I was, and that's why he couldn't love me or treat me the way that he thinks I should have been treated, or he couldn't treat me the way I should have been treated because I was a bad person. I was a bad person when I was in Tasmania. So moving to Brisbane and getting married to him and all these steps were my way of trying to fix it, trying to prove to him that I was worthy of his love. I don't feel that I was a bad person. I just don't think I loved myself enough to want better. I felt like I deserved it, or I was doing something to deserve the way he was treating me. And I didn't love myself to want better for myself. At the point where social media became a big part of my career, I had no control over it. I didn't even have access to it. That was Dan pretending to be me online. Everything was just fake. It portrayed that we were this happy family, and I was this happy, bubbly mum with 2 kids, and we were gonna live happily ever after. It couldn't have been further from the truth.
Seeing them both together at the gym 4 to 5 times a week, Bec and Dan together were like a lot of couples, a little bit volatile sometimes, a little bit friendly, joking, playing with each other, sometimes distant. Sometimes I'd be training one and the other one would barely make eye contact with the other. None of that stood out as something unusual at the time. It was just a young couple.
Slowly got worse. He would go a bit longer. It wasn't just a shove here and there. It was, he'd hold me down, or he would kick me. Or I remember sitting on the computer one day and he just came up behind me. We hadn't even had an argument. He just came up behind me and choked me unconscious. And I woke up with my head in the keyboard. And then he would find different ways to hurt me. He would, you know, trash my house and destroy my things or destroy Zake's things. Yeah, it just slowly got worse. I guess he got more confident with me not talking, not telling anyone. At that point, I was in survival mode. I was in protection mode of my 2 baby cubs. And they were the only thing on my mind was to protect them and keep them safe and to keep them out of harm's way.
He did the typical domestic violence sort of thing where he alienated the family. He moved her away from us as far as he could. But he came up against the Rawlings family and we all stick together. So we spent a lot of time in Queensland. We thought that there was some, you know, hitting and so forth going on, but we never witnessed it. We saw the bruises, but Bec just said, oh, that's from training.
There were stories from outsiders who would speak to me quietly and privately and say, look, I've heard some things that maybe Dan, you know, has been abusive to Bec or is very controlling. But when we would question her on that, there was always a bubbly response that we should all not worry about it, that we should all not be concerned that she was okay.
He controlled my fight career. He controlled everything around me, and I felt like I couldn't get out. He threatened to slander my name. He threatened to release nude photos. He threatened to basically destroy my credibility, and I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do if that happened. There's a lot of horrible feelings. There's feelings of, you know, scared for my life. There's feelings of helplessness, being pinned down and not being able to move. It's not a nice feeling. Not being able to breathe, it's not a nice feeling. The feeling, I think, is like sheer terror. It's trying to fight back and not being able to. Especially, I was training at the time, so I knew what I had to do, but I couldn't. He was bigger, he was better. And it got to the point where I would fight back as much as I could, and then I'd just give up and wait for him to stop. And I think that's what hurt the most, was I just gave up and just hoped that he didn't kill me.
But what were the kind of things that he did to you?
He kicked and punched me. He choked me unconscious. He held me down by my throat and drove his elbow into my face. He would spit on me. He would pour milk on me. Pour anything he could get his hands on top of me. He would smother me with pillows. He'd hold me down for hours, not being able to get up. He would tear my house apart. He'd slash my couches, smash my TVs, cut up all my clothes, pour bleach on them, so I had no clothes to wear. I think the hardest was when he would just be sadistic and he'd just hold me down and spit on me or pour things on me or smother me. That was, I think, the worst. A lot of our arguments began with me defending my son. He was never physical towards Zake, but he was very emotionally abusive towards him. He didn't treat him very nicely at all. I remember the incident, actually. It was an argument over the computer or the Xbox, something along those lines, and he threw a mobile phone at my face. And Ensign was upstairs asleep in the cot, and Zake was downstairs playing. And I just picked up Zake, and I wanted to leave, and I went to get Ensign, and he just he barricaded the stairs so I couldn't get to Ensign. So I picked up Zake and I just left. And I went to the gym. We walked all the way to the gym, which is about 5 kilometres. And I told my coach, and he called the police straight away.
So you've got to imagine you've got a room full of killers here, yeah? You've got a room full of fighters that can do pretty much whatever they like to other people in a situation. And I saw a lot of tough guys cry that day. I saw a lot of guys that were angry they couldn't do something. A couple of the fighters wanted to take it upon themselves to fix the situation. It was a tough day. It was a tough day.
Well, if I had done what I should have done when I first had suspicions or, may have thought something was happening, I should have spoken up, but it's just that stigma around it all. To this day, still people think it's not their business or, it's not their place and whatever. And, it's, I'm guilty of thinking that way back then.
I knew Dan would never hurt Ensign. Ensign was his pride and joy. It was his son. So I knew he was safe. I knew he would never hurt him at that point. The next day, while it was in the night, it was early morning, my friend drove me there and I snuck up and I took him.
I got hundreds and hundreds of texts. They ranged from a range of emotions. They were like, I'm sorry, and apologising to I love you, to fuck you, you're a piece of shit, then back to wanting to see Ensign.
Apologising for treating me the way he did, apologising for hurting me.
Revenge, yeah. Make him pay. I think that was the big thing in the gym. It was little pockets of people planning things to get back at someone. Obviously, some of us a little bit older and trying to be a little bit wiser.
The feeling inside is both, sadness for it happening to her and just complete anger and wanting to go take it down on the person that did it.
In hindsight, if we'd known, would have done everything in my power to get her away from him.
He used to tell me that I was damaged goods and that no one would ever want me. And I had 2 kids to 2 different dads. And so I should be thankful that he wanted to be with me.
By the time we found out they were in Queensland, I ended up speaking to the police in Queensland that attended the more serious incident, which ended up getting their equivalent of Child Protective Services involved, which I think helped Bec sort of make the break and fly with the kids and get away from him. She had some really good friends up there at the time from the gym that helped her with the boys and got her away from him.
I brought them in after all that happened. I didn't see any other option. They needed help, they needed a place to go. Called my parents. Of course, they said yes straight away without skipping a beat and just brought him in. It was the humane thing to do and the right thing to do.
My relationship with Adrian is unique. We originally were friends, training partners. His family took us in when we had nowhere to stay, so I was able to live close to the gym and train. For people to take in, you know, me and my 2 kids and do that, you know, you don't come across those kind of people, and it shows what kind of people they are. That friendship formed into a relationship years after that. He's good for me, and I'm very lucky to have him in my life, him and his family.
Fair, don't bite her leg.
Good morning, a new day is dawning. A new swag, a new bag is calling. Stocks soaring, my whips are foreign. Life is good. Good morning, a new day is dawning.
They've never come to a fight live. They've always watched it on TV. I kind of didn't like them coming when they were a bit younger. I don't think it's something that you need to see. You know, your mum and dad getting punched in the face isn't probably the nicest thing. But now they're a bit older and they can comprehend it a bit more.
From St. Rodriguez, it's Adrian Rodriguez!
So Adrian even said he heard Ensign cheering for him, and it really it uplifted him, and he was like, I'm not going to lose in front of my boys.
Yeah, it was an awesome fight. I got a bit worried that he was going to lose because he was getting hit a bit.
It happens.
It was a fist fight. Yeah, they came into the ring, got photos. Actually, we have to find
You have to find the photos of you guys in the ring with Adrian.
That was a cool photo. Had the whole team and whole family there.
Yeah.
Being the father figure for both Zach and Ensigns, it's rewarding and scary at the same time. Obviously, you want to make sure that you give them the right role model. Obviously, as a stepfather, there's things to overcome, but I've been in their lives for so long, you know, they do see me as dad, so that makes it a lot easier, and they're 2 beautiful kids, so it's very rewarding.
The pink Denny on the oh, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That's where it's at, right here.
I fought on the local scene in Australia. I had 5 professional fights here. And ran out of opponents. There weren't many girls fighting back then. That was when Ronda Rousey came on the scene, and she convinced Dana White to let women into the UFC. I remember watching her first fight on the UFC, and it was like, I got goosebumps, you know, never thought I'd see women fight in the UFC. So yeah, that was a really big milestone, that one.
Bec's call up to Invicta was quite a surprise. We were ecstatic, obviously, to get the call up, the opportunity. And when I got the call to say, should I take the title fight against Carla, I absolutely said we should. I thought that we might be able to overwhelm her.
I'm the underdog, and I like being the underdog. It's fun. I like proving people wrong.
I think going against an opponent that has nothing to lose can sometimes be the most dangerous.
One day I got a phone call, and I was like, this voice sounds familiar, and it was Dana White. He's like, what's up, Bec? I was like, hi, what's going on? And he said, oh, we've decided to bring in the strawweight division in the UFC, and we've decided to select you along with, I think it was 15, 16 other women to go on The Ultimate Fighter. It was a huge shock. At that point, that was the pinnacle for women. It was like a whole bunch of feelings. Obviously nervous. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, you know. I signed up for a reality TV show where I was away from my kids for 7 weeks, locked up in a house with all these girls that I'm getting lined up to fight against. So it was a bit daunting, but it was exciting. I was actually visiting my mum in Tasmania when I got the phone call. I still remember it to this day. I was at her old house, and I got a phone call, and I walked outside into the driveway. And after I got off the phone, I walked back in with the biggest smile on my face. My mum's like, who was that? I'm like, that was Dana White, and I'm fighting for the UFC.
You know, it just blew me away. She always had aspirations that she was going to be the best. And I just thought, no, I don't know about that. But then I didn't know a lot about the sport either. When she got accepted into the Tough House for the UFC, I thought, oh, that's pretty good. And yeah, she did very well. I mean, her first fight in America was for a belt.
My first fight on the actual UFC fight night, it was pretty hectic, to be honest. It was a really hard fight. I thought I won the decision, but I lost. The girl I fought, I didn't like at all at the time. So there was a lot of bad blood, and it felt really good to punch her in the face. And I'm sure she felt the same way. But we hugged it out at the end. I think that's the good thing about fighting is, you know, we go in there and we could go into this fight with bad blood, but we're both in there trying to do the same thing. So you gain that respect for each other. But it was a good fight. My first win in the UFC was a UFC fight night in Adelaide. It was really cool to be on Aussie soil and get my first UFC win. It was very emotional. I left my kids for 8 weeks. I really put my heart and soul into this fight camp, and to come out with the win really topped it off. It was a roller coaster in the UFC. You know, I won some and I lost some. The highs were really high and the lows were really low. It's one thing to lose. It's another thing to lose on the world stage, and then going on social media and getting reminded every day that you lost. It's also amazing to win on that TV as well, and it's the nature of the beast. Sometimes you lose and sometimes you win. I feel like that is the sport, and it's how you come back from it. And I've definitely grown as a fighter and a person, dealing with losses and dealing with wins. When I first started competing in MMA, I was fighting in the strawweight division, which was 52 kilos. And I think, you know, that weight division really suited me at that time. I was still a young woman, I was 22 years old. So I was making that weight quite easily. But as I got older, I got more mature. I started putting on more muscle, and things got harder to drop. And added on to that, I got a thyroid disease. So that kind of just threw another spanner in the works. And there was a few things, you know, that came to mind when I realised I lost the love for the sport, or not the love for it, the vision of why I was doing it. It was getting to the point where I was cutting like 8 kilos in water to fight. I was passing out, cutting weight, and then the next day I was meant to fight to my 100% performance, and it just spiraled out of control. And so a sport like MMA isn't a sport that you want to lose your direction in or lose your love in, because you're getting punched in the face, you're going to get hurt out there.
When she went to do mixed martial arts, that was bad enough. And then when you think it can't get any worse, she does the bare-knuckle. And I just thought, oh my goodness.
It was all new to me, and I went down that rabbit hole of what is bare-knuckle. Like, I knew boxing originated without gloves, but I didn't know the extent. I didn't know the history behind it, and that it was now legalized again. So that was cool. It was exciting to kind of, you know, get that inner nerd out and start researching and looking into it. I felt like the sport was made for me, so I was excited, still excited about this new chapter I was about to go down.
I love bare-knuckle. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great sport.
It's bare knuckle, so my knuckles have to be bare. So we wrap the wrist and the thumb, secure those in, and leave the knuckles bare. There's no wraps, there's no tape, there's no gauze over your actual knuckles, so you can see the knuckles coming for you. I was actually really excited.
It is our co-main event of the night. Women's featherweights. Bec Rawlings versus Alma Garcia.
It was a new sport. All I had to worry about was 2 hands. And coming from MMA, you've got so many aspects to worry about. I was honestly so calm. I was like at peace with what was gonna happen. And I was just so confident in my skill set.
Ladies to the line,
It's a cool feeling, and I feel like that's how it should be. I feel like that's how you should be fighting. You should be at peace and relaxed and calm and confident.
Stepping into the pocket and trading. Big shots now. Garcia trying to fire back. More big straight punches from Bec Rawlings. Uppercut.
It was a good fight. I dropped her.
Down goes Alma Garcia.
I rearranged her face.
There's a lot of swelling under the left eye of Alma Garcia.
Yeah, she's looking really bad right now.
She was tough, but I outskilled her in every aspect.
By TKO, Dr. Stoppage, Rowdy Bec Rawlings.
My first bare-knuckle fight, we really just stuck to the fundamentals. And then for the Britain Hart fight, we added in a few more skill sets.
Both fighters look intent on a ferocious start.
We worked on a lot of specifics for Britain Hart, and we knew she was going to be awkward, and I'd had to keep my cool. When I don't have a clear head out there, I never fight to my potential. So it was bringing that mental control and keeping my cool in there. Britain Hart was tough. You know, I think every girl I've fought is tough. The fight before the fight is hard, so anyone that steps into that ring has already got my respect. I think any girl that goes out there and trains their asses off and makes it to that fight night and puts their body on the line in front of the world, it's tough. You've got to give them respect.
Feeling. Britain put on a great fight. You win this fight by being aggressive, not by running, so it is what it is, but still the queen of bare-knuckle, and thank you, Britain, for an amazing fight. We're 3 weeks out from flying off to Mexico to defend my belt, and I'm the current world champion, so there's a lot resting on it.
Sometimes as a trainer and a fighter, you just hit it off. And Bec's actually very similar to me in our sense of humour, and very similar in the way we are as people. So when we started to work together, it was an easy mix.
Just gonna wrap my hands and then start to warm up. I normally just do that. This is what we've created, our fake skipping over here. We just imagine there's a rope in our hand. Yeah, so we do that, what April's doing there. And then our shadow box. And normally I'd hit a few rounds on the bag, but I think I'm just gonna do pads with my coach, John, after he moves around with April. And then I'll be doing some hand drills, just working on building strength and power right now. I'm sitting down on my punches. And then you up the ante closer to the fight, and that's when you break your body down a little bit. It's like playing a game with your body, how far you can push it, and then rest it, and then push it again. Try and get that right balance of not breaking your body down too much and getting it to its peak performance.
What you noticed about Bec compared to some other fighters was that when it got really tough, there seemed to be a need to fight back. A reason to continue when it was uncomfortable. And that makes a fighter stand out.
Everyone always says you learn more from a loss than you do a win, and it sounds so cliche, but you do. I've gone out there and won, in the first round, and I really took nothing from that. But it's the losses that you learn from and you grow from. And that's in all, facets of life, not just in sport. It's when you get knocked down, it's how you get up and how you deal with it. Yeah, when I'm fighting, I guess it's very strategic. It's definitely a lot you rely on is your muscle memory, what you're doing in the gym every day, especially when you get tired. You go back to what you know.
I don't go out into a fight with the, you know, the mindset of, oh, I can take damage, it's fine. I've definitely changed my fighting style since when I first started fighting, where I did take a lot of damage and I could feel it, you know, I could feel myself getting dumber. So yeah, I had to reevaluate how I trained, and, you know, I want to be around with my smarts and my wits for my kids. So now I do train a lot, how not to take damage, keep my hands up, move my head, things like that. It is really hard juggling kids and the fight life, but fortunately, you know, I've only known this fight business since I've had them. I didn't have the opportunity to fight before I had the kids, so this is all I've known. I have a schedule, we have it down pat, the kids know what's up, they love, like, they're gym babies. They normally come along, and now that they're into jiu-jitsu and boxing, they train while I'm training.
No, I'll stretch first, hit the bag, then maybe do some jiu-jitsu with Zach.
That's one. Lost your bed. Fight that grip, get his hand and pull it down like a lever. That's it. Try and bring that first jab back to your face. So you're gonna jab, back, jab again. So you don't. Yes, that's it. The first name I got tattooed on me was Zach's. And I never knew at that point that I was gonna have, you know, another son on the other side, and I'd have, you know, all this wrapping around my neck. But yeah, I got Zach a few months after I had him, and then the same with Ensign. And then it was only a few years later that I decided to get the heart, which I think, you know, represents, for me, it's the heart with the key, and like, they are my heart, they're my everything, and they hold the key to that. That's what it means to me. We're off to Mexico. It's going to be a big week. I still have to prove that I'm the bare-knuckle queen. It's really cool to be in Mexico. I feel like you get a lot more support here. Everyone loves the sport, and I think the bare knuckle aspect of it all kind of gets a lot of people's respect.
She's unbelievable. She's everything I really want in a fighter, but I like her because she loves to promote, and something about her voice that really gets people to look at her and to be attracted to her, I think. More so than just the fighting, and she is a pretty girl, but take all that out of the equation, she can fight like a man.
My opponent's really tough, Cecilia Flores. She's a Mexican, a local girl from Guadalajara, I think that's how you say it. I think it's going to be a really good fight, a fun fight, and I think that's why they kind of match this fight, because they know Cecilia's going to come out and try and bring the fight to me, and I'm going to do the same to her. So expectations, obviously I think I'm going to win. I'm not going to go into a fight thinking I'm going to lose, but I know it's going to be a tough fight. I know she's not going to be an easy, you know, someone that I'm just going to put away in the first round. It's going to be tough, but that's the fights I like anyway.
Oh, little cuties.
Been here for 2 days, I'm getting over jet lag. When I first got here, it didn't feel like it was fight week, but today I woke up and it feels like fight week. I'm, you know, motivated and
I'm getting ready to fight, you know, I've switched over into fight mode today. So yesterday was kind of like lounging around, and today it's time for business. So I fell down the stairs. It was really wet. It was like raining really bad. And I had my flip-flops on and we're going to the gym, and I just missed a step and like legit bounced down 2 steps and rolled my ankle. So it's like really bruised and swollen in here. It's just a sprain. It's like nothing major. It looks worse than what it is.
Oh, she was lucky. Could have been a lot worse. But no, we looked after it straight away. So, you know, lots of ice, and we've got the blood to the surface. So it's going really well. It'll be right by the end of the week.
It's just more annoying having to, like, normally fight week, it's like you're feeling fresh and ready to train and you just want to get in there, and then this one, like, when you injure yourself, it's like fucking just something that you have to like worry about. It's just annoying. Ah, mother, he just needs an excuse to hit me.
All right, buenos tardes, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome to the magnificent. Oh my goodness, it is so beautiful here at the Grand Oasis Hotel here in Cancun, Quintana Roo, Mexico. Making her way to the scale, she holds a combined combat sports record of 14 professional fights. And next up, ladies and gentlemen, this individual needs no introduction in the bare-knuckle world. She holds a professional bare-knuckle record undefeated at 2-0, fighting out of Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. She is the defending Women's Police Gazette Diamond Featherweight Bare-Knuckle Champion of the World. Here is Rowdy Rawlings!
Yeah, fighting Cecilia, not really knowing much about her. It's kind of annoying, obviously, not being able to study her, but I don't really care. Like, even if I was to study her fights, it's not going to change what I'm going to do. The unknown, I guess, it makes it a little bit harder to get 100% prepared for a certain style, but in saying that, you think you've got someone in their style and they change the game plan up anyway, so I prefer just going in there with what I want to do and not really focus on what they're going to do.
Yeah, the way Bec's feeling is really good. We made weight well. We've had a good day. We've weighed in well. We've rehydrated. We've got a meal in, so everything's good. Mentally, she's great. It's just a matter of now of getting some rest, and she'll be ready to go tomorrow. She'll feel $1 million by tomorrow. I'm ready to go.
I thought I was getting out of it, and I suck at talking. I do my talking with my fist. I think people get the wrong idea of what love is. You get confused, the line gets blurred, and you mistaken love for something else, and it's confusing. He convinced me that he was going to get on his medication, that he was going to change, he was going to do right by us, and he was going to try. And he said, you know, we were married, I can't just give up on our marriage like that. And that he was struggling mentally,
and that he was going to get help and see someone and get on medication. And then I needed to come back and support him. And I eventually went back to him. He showed signs of wanting to change, and I think it was all just game to him. It didn't take long for him to go back to the games. He just found different ways to do it. Instead of physically hitting me, he would just destroy the house, destroy my things, find other ways to get to me, I guess. And so I basically kept up the facade that it had stopped out of embarrassment. I didn't want them to know that I went back and I let it continue.
You have to get up.
Such a big book.
Get up.
No.
Now I have to get up. Come on. I'm hungry. And here we are, fight day. Chill, you know, I don't try not to think about the fight this far from the fight. You know, I've got all day, so if you're thinking about the fight and you're wasting too much mental energy. So I'm very chill, relaxed. Just gonna chill out in my hotel and probably have a nap later. Get a good lunch and then I'll switch on to fight mode. You know, when we get in that shuttle bus to go to the venue, that's when I switch on.
I can wait for this fight, man. It's I don't have words to describe how excited I am.
It's awesome, man. Outdoor, that's what better than nature, you know what I'm saying? It's the real jungle right here, baby.
I feel like if I go into the fight calm and relaxed and with a clear mind, I'm always going to fight my best. When I fight with emotion, I'm not so good. You know, I get a little wild and reckless. So that's probably the one thing I'm going to be telling myself when I go out there is just to keep calm and go in there with a clear mind and just do what I know I can do.
Look, on fight day, I don't really give Bec too much advice. I kind of just, you know, go over things that, you know, that she's gone over in her camp and just reiterate things that she already knows. Just make sure they're fresh in her head and just help her wherever she needs. Not too much of an advice guy.
I have trust in my training and in my skill set, and I know if it comes down to it, I've always got that heart. And that heart's gotten me through a lot of shit in my life, so I know that's going to get me through this fight and more to come.
The final straw for me was I was scared for the kids' lives. He pulled a knife out of the drawer in the kitchen and held it up and said he was going to kill me, the kids, and then kill himself. I had to get these kids out. they were now at risk. I waited for Dan to go to sleep. I woke up really early and I just got a few things for the kids and packed them into the car. And I just left. It was terrifying. I didn't know what he would do if he woke up finding me trying to leave with them. But, you know, once I reversed out of the driveway and I knew he wasn't going to catch me, it was a relief. But I didn't know if I was going to stay awake. And as soon as I got to my mum's and my mum asked me what was going on, I knew I had to tell her. I just knew if I told her, I would never go back, because I knew she would never let me.
When she finally left him, it was a huge relief. And when she actually told us what some of the things that he'd done, which we didn't know about, I just couldn't believe it. I just don't know how she stayed as long as she did. I think she probably wanted that ideal of the happy family and the parents and the children, which she obviously didn't have.
It was really hard because a part of me wanted to keep the family together. I felt like the kids needed a dad. And to break that family up, myself coming from a broken home, it wasn't easy. So I thought they were better off in it than away from it, which is so far from the truth. So it took, you know, a long time to realise that they were better off without that monster in their life. It's that stupid stigma where everyone thinks that you have to have your parents together to be happy.
But once she'd accepted that that was not going to happen, she was able to move on.
It appears to me now that they were always at risk, you know, seeing that happen to their mum, the things that they've seen. I know Zake remembers some things, and that's not fair for a kid to have to see that at that age. So that was my turning point. I had to get them out. It wasn't to save my life, it was to save them. To win the championship belt and, you know, to have that around my waist and awarded to me and to make history and be the first woman ever to win a bare-knuckle world championship, it's hard to put it into words. It's an amazing feeling now. At that point in time, it didn't feel real. It felt, it was a crazy feeling. It really didn't sink in until I got home. I filed for divorce a year after we had split. I don't know how he took it. He never fought it. I went to court and he wasn't there, so it all went smoothly, I guess, because he never fought it. There was a young girl that unfortunately fell into the same hands as Dan Hyatt. She was young when they met. She worked for him in some capacity, and he groomed her. Her mum actually contacted me because she knew how vocal I'd been about the abuse and trying to warn people to stay away from him. And she was frightened for her daughter's life, and she reached out to me on tips to try and get her away from him, I guess. She was a lot like me at that age. She was rebellious and wanted to do what she wanted to do, so her mum was distraught, didn't know how to get her away from this monster, because she knew he was a monster. When Dan was finally convicted, I was happy he was finally behind bars. I was happy that he was outed. He could no longer go on and abuse more girls. It was like a weight lifted off, I guess, for it to all finally come to light. It took a lot of time to move on completely. A long time, you know, there was a lot of triggers. I probably went a year without sleep. I had security cameras put up around my house because I was afraid he was going to come in and kill us. I put up walls. I didn't let anyone get close to me emotionally. And that's family, friends, boyfriends. It took a long time to get to the point where I could trust people again. But I've moved on completely from it. It doesn't control my life. It doesn't define me. It doesn't shape what I'm doing now or who I am today. It is something that happened to me, but it isn't me any longer.
I'm very proud of Rebecca for what she's achieved. Like, she's managed to pull herself out of the shit and pull herself out of a very frightening and crappy situation and earn a living to raise 2 kids and live a happy life, I suppose.
I think I'm lucky to know who Bec is. I'm lucky to know that she's a larrikin, but she's fun. And she's not what a lot of people think she is. I'm fortunate that I get to know her.
I'm really, really proud of her. Even though I don't like the fighting, I'm proud of what she's achieved. I'm proud of her as a mother.
She's a hero to them. So they can't miss an opportunity to brag about their mum. And so they should. Their mum is a hero.
What's most inspiring about Rebecca's story is the fact that no matter how hard you fall, you can always get back up again. You can always try and change the course of your life, because that's what you have to do after domestic violence.
Advice to someone else in a situation like what Bec went through, my advice would be talk to someone. Talk to your teacher, talk to your coach, talk to your neighbour, talk to someone.
She had to dig deep to keep going forward, and that's the message that she wants to give other girls that are in the same situation, that you can turn your life around, you can find the strength to move on and move past it. She's certainly an inspiration.
I'd like to raise more awareness. I'd I'd like to share my story in hopes that it helps other people. I'd like to give people the tools and the skills to, if they were to ever find themselves in my situation, to be able to get out of it or to never fall into this situation. And basically just get people to just love who they are, be strong, be loud, be authentic.
I don't think I can change the world. I think the world needs a lot of fixing, but you know, I want people to find their voice and find their strength and their self-worth. That's my biggest thing, is learning to love yourself and learning to want more for yourself. And don't settle for less, because the happier you are, the happier you're going to make people around you, and it's just a cycle. It feeds on to other people. What you give out in the world, they're going to give out as well. So definitely self-worth, and just know that you deserve better, and go out there and get it. Don't sit and wait for it to come. Go out there and get it.
Been the shit, guess they must not have known. I had to figure out this shit solo dolo. Whole game got me jaded, now I don't trust a soul. They wanna tap on it, I'd rather get it on my own. I'm grinding, said they wanna see me when I know they lying. I might check their chin if they keep trying. I know it hurt under their skin to see me shining, shining. Check their chin if they keep trying. I know it hurt under their skin to see me shining, shining, yeah. I'm grinding, said they wanna see me when I know they lying. I might check their chin if they keep trying. I know it hurt under their skin to see me shining, shining, yeah. I paid my way, damn it, I paid my dues. These bitches would've crumbled if they walked up in my shoes. I done took so many L's, think I'm attracted to the blues, but God gon' bless me through these prayers and I choose it. I'm grinding, said they wanna see me when I know they lying. I might check their chin if they keep trying. I know it hurt under their skin to see me shining, shining. Bitch, I'm the shit, tell me do a spin. I'ma get this paper, give a fuck about what you think. Flowing out my pockets, popping at the seat. I'ma go up higher, y'all can't tell me a thing. Throwing hundreds, chasing millies, watch me do my thing. Just shake y'all throwing, I keep going, y'all can't stop this thing. Bitches wanna find me, huh? You can't do a thing. If you catch up to me, bitches, where it's gonna end? I'm grinding, said they wanna see me when I know they lying. I might check their chin if they keep trying. I know it hurt under their skin to see me shining, shining, yeah. I'm grinding, said they wanna see me when I know they lying. I might check their chin if they keep trying. I know it hurt under their skin to see me shining, shining.